I can't keep this in anymore.
What do you mean? What happened?
You know, I used to work night shifts at that old hospital, right?
Yeah?
Well, something followed me home from Hall 7,
What the fuck is Hall 7?
the place nobody goes. And now I know why. I used to work night shifts cleaning an old hospital. Most of the building was empty. A newer, modern hospital had opened in town. The patients left behind were mostly old, terminal, and waiting for their last days. But there was one wing no one touched, Hall 7. The staff that had been working there longer than I had told me stories about Hall 7. We rarely had to go there, except when we had to get certain supplies. As I was the cleaner, when my supplies ran out, Hall 7 was the place I had to go to refill. I usually avoided it as much as I could, but tonight I had no choice. My supplies needed a refill, so I went. The stories the staff had told me screamed loudly in my head every time I went for a supply run, so it did tonight as well. The stories of the old man that was hospitalized for a tumor as big as a basketball. His stomach had ballooned so far, it looked ready to split. Skin stretched thin and glossy. Purple veins crawling across it like worms. Nurses whispered, it was like watching a pregnant man. Except the child inside was nothing but rot. One night, the man rang the bell. But the new nurse working that night was so disgusted and afraid of the look of his stretched tummy that she ignored him. He rang and rang, the bell echoing down the hall, until the nurse covered her ears. She couldn't bring herself to look at him. After an hour, the bell went silent. The hospital remained quiet until the nurse clocked out and went home, not checking in on the poor patient all night. The morning came, and so did the new staff that clocked in. A new nurse went to check on the man, and to her horror, the man wasn't laying in his bed. She found him on the floor. His abdomen was a ragged pit, flesh peeled back like wet wallpaper, the edges glistening with blood and pus. In his right hand, the scalpel. In the other, the tumor. The tumor was slick, pale, threaded with veins that pulsed weakly as if alive. It was round, obscene, a perfect parody of life. He grinned at the nurse, lifted it high, and slammed it to the floor. Splat, splat, splat. Each bounce sprayed red arcs across the walls, a rain of meat and fluid. The man had cut the tumor out himself, but he wasn't dead. The blood was pouring out of the wide open gaping hole. The patient turned his head and looked the nurse straight in her eyes as he continued to bounce his tumor like a ball on the floor. The sound bouncing up and down was a gut-wrenching. Splat, splat, splat. The nurse backed out the door screaming in horror as the patient's mouth widened. I'm free now, he whispered. I'm human again. A few minutes later, the man died. It's a horrifying story that I always dismissed in hope that humans are way more caring for each other than this. I just could not believe it. The workers that told me the story were not employed when they claimed this took place. An urban legend. This story lingered, screamed in my brain when I headed to the supply closet in Hall 7. The walk to Hall 7 was suffocating. The air reeked of disinfectant, pus, and death, with the vents broken long ago. The stench of wounds and alcohol clung to every breath. The stench so pungent making everyone who came in contact with it lose hope. I reached the end of Hall 6, turning right to the corridor leading to Hall 7, turning again, now reaching the double doors to my destination. Hall 7 was dark. I ran my hand along the wall until I found the light switch. Lights turned on, flickering and unreliable. With the supply closet in sight, straight down the hall, I began my walk. The corridor felt so long, But that was also the case. It was quiet, only the sound of the lights buzzing. Trying to keep my mind occupied on anything other than the story, I started to whistle the tune of Stand By Me, a song me and my mom always whistled when I was worried as a kid. Some kind of comfort in the pressing feeling of the hall. The windows into the rooms were dark, not operating in the same light system as the light switch. Everything was fine until a loud bang rattled one of the rooms. My chest tightened. My breathing was loud, heart pounding as loudly in my chest. I tried to control my body as I slowly backed towards the wall. Another noise, now a clunking sound, sharp metal scraping on the floor. I was standing with my back against the wall, almost merging together with the concrete behind me, facing the opposite wall, a patient room where the repeating sound came from. The large, uncurtained window, dark as night. I felt like a zoo animal in the flickering lights above, shining down on me with an unnerving sense of being watched. The sound got louder and louder. Then it suddenly stopped. As I gained control of my body and started to walk away, just a few steps into my escape, I heard a loud thud on the window, coming from the patient room. I turned my head, and that's when my stomach turned. In the window, close as can be, stood a man with his eyes wide open, staring at me with the widest grin I've ever seen. His eyes were locked in on mine. He raised his hands, both holding objects, a sharp, glistening scalpel and a large, round, white, gooey ball. My lungs burned. My body screamed to run, but I was nailed to the floor. The man lifted his left hand. Something wet hit the ground. Splat, splat, splat. I couldn't see it in the dark room he stood in, but I knew. He was bouncing it. The tumor. That sound broke me. My legs moved before my brain did. I bolted. The lights flickered once, twice, then died, swallowing me in black. I ran blind, gagging on the smell that chased me all the way home. I left all my belongings there, certain I would never return to that hospital, or any hospital for that matter. I'm writing this since I need help, professionally, maybe. The psychiatrist I spoke with on the phone told me that I needed to come to her office for evaluation. That's out of the question, as I'm unable to leave my room. My bed is rotting with me. The sheets are stiff with sweat and feces. Plates of food fester on the floor, crawling with flies that buzz against the curtains. The air stinks of mildew and waste. But worse than that, I smell him. I can no longer work. I fear living. I'm not able to sleep. I take pills, really strong ones, but they don't work. Nothing helps me from the repulsiveness, the barbarity of the scene that's been replaying in front of me every single day on the wooden floor of my bedroom. The eyes staring right into mine, the cutting, the sound of the large round ball hitting the floor when the flesh gives in as it detaches and rolls under my bed, bleeding and crawling in under my bed. The dead man shuffles around to find his ball, rolling it out, grabbing and holding it in his arms as his face turns with the widest grin. "I'm free now," he whispers, blood foaming at his lips. "I'm human again." And then it's over, for a couple of minutes until it all repeats again. It's constant. I cannot move. I'm living in my bed. To say I'm living is an overstatement. I haven't eaten since this happened. I can't leave my bed. I have my computer, my phone. I know that no one will believe me, but I'm really struggling for help. I sit here, tight in the corner of my bed, pressed against the wall. I'm living in my own fantasies. I'm scared, embarrassed, confused. Please, I'm begging you. How can I make this stop?
Holy shit, dude. That's insane.
I'm not lying. It's happening in my room every night. I hear it. The splat, splat, splat under my bed.
Stop. You're actually scaring me right now.
His face, the grin, the tumor. It won't leave.
You need help, like real help.
I tried. Psychiatrist told me to come in, but I can't leave my bed.
This sounds like you're dying in there. Why didn't you tell me sooner?
Because no one believes me.
Dude, I believe you. Just let me come over.
No. If you step inside, he'll follow you too.
Are you serious?
He's already looking at you through my camera.